Hey, good morning and welcome to Breakthrough Walls. I'm Ken Walls and I'm your host, and I have a very special guest I'll be introducing to you in just a moment. Stay with us. Hey, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Today, I have the CEO and founder of a company called Brepic. And that's a word that he made up, and I love that, man. This is a cool name. So I want to welcome Justin Breen to the show. Justin, welcome, man.
Greetings from my backyard, Ken. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. It's sunny up there in Chicagoland.
Indeed.
Yeah. So Justin, I started this show to help people have a breakthrough in life. Right now, I think a lot of people are stuck. The whole pandemic thing and everything that's gone on over the last few months has probably made it worse than it was prior to the pandemic. So this is literally about your story and the trials and tribulations you've experienced and how you got through them and all of that. So why don't we start with where you were born and raised? By the way, there will be times where it's just on you like that. So why don't we start with where you were born and raised?
Sure. So long story short, I was born at Highland Park Hospital, which is in the North Shore of Chicago, grew up in Northbrook, Illinois, which is about 25 miles north of downtown Chicago. And my wife dragged me back up here. We now live in Glenview, Illinois, which is about a mile and a half south of where I grew up. And we have two awesome kids, Jake and Chase, who are 7 and 6. So we're probably going to be staying here for a very long time.
Kids will definitely do that. They will definitely do that. So, that's where you went to high school and all that?
Yep. Glenbrook North High School. Yep.
Okay. Did you end up going to college?
Graduated from the University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign. Got a full academic scholarship to go there.
Wow.
Geese College of Business and College of Engineering have been my firm's clients. I've been the longtime journalism chair for the College of Media Alumni Board, so I'm still frequently involved with helping students and new alumni at the college.
So you went to what was your degree in engineering?
Boy, that would be interesting if I was running a PR firm now. Although I have met a lot of engineers who started their own businesses, but no, I was news editorial journalism.
Oh, got it. Didn't you say something about engineering?
Yes, they'd been my client.
Oh, got it. Okay, yeah. Got it. So you got into PR and journalism. When you got out of college, did you immediately start your own business?
No. I just started my business 3 years ago. I was a journalist for 20 plus years and created my entire business model based on how PR firms annoyed me for those 20 years as a journalist. But no, graduating college, I remember I sent out probably 500 resumes during my senior year. I had 6 job offers from Alaska all the way to, Chillicothe, Ohio, which is kind of in Appalachia where that starts. So I wound up choosing a job at the Michigan City News Dispatch, which is in Michigan City, Indiana, about 70 minutes from downtown Chicago, because I thought eventually I'd be in downtown Chicago working as a journalist there.
Wow. Chillicothe, Ohio. That's down here by me.
Yep.
Yeah. My wife was VP of marketing for a big company in Chillicothe, actually.
It's a small world. That's what I've learned it becomes a big, small world when you talk to the right people, and there's always these really interesting connections that form.
It is weird, man. So you stayed in the greater Chicago area. I mean, 70 minutes from Chicago is still Chicago.
That's correct. Yeah. So that area of Northwest Indiana, it's like they call it the region, but it's an interesting area because it's on Midwest Central Chicago time, and usually the rest of Indiana is on Eastern time. So it's kind of like just divided from the rest of the state. So.
Yeah, yeah. So you started working at this place, and what was your position there? What was your role?
Yeah, I was a sports writer there, and eventually became sports editor. And then I moved up to the News Dispatch at the time was like a 15,000 circulation paper. Then I moved up as a sports editor or sports writer at what's called the Post Tribune of Northwest Indiana. So that was like a 60,000 circ paper, and then got a job as the sports editor at the Times of Northwest Indiana, which is a 90,000 circulation paper. So slowly but surely, I kind of hopped my way from smaller paper to medium paper to bigger paper in Northwest Indiana.
Wow. And then did you ever end up in downtown Chicago?
Yeah, so the job I had previously to starting my own business, I was a senior editor at a news site called DNA Info Chicago. So was the third person hired there, helped basically, start that company from nothing. And so it was really fun to just see what, where that came from and watch it build and be such an awesome news site for the city of Chicago.
What, you said something early on. You said that PR firms annoyed you.
Mm-hmm. Still do.
What about PR firms annoyed you or still annoy you?
Yep. Yeah. So most PR firms send useless press releases that are not interesting and or newsworthy. And so as a journalist, you get hundreds of these a day from people you don't know, usually in bulk email. So my firm, I do a totally different approach that's been very successful for clients around the world.
So for the average listener that has no idea what a PR firm is supposed to do, maybe
I don't know it. So I can't tell you how many times people have come up to me and said, "Hey, we were using this previous PR firm. We don't know what they were doing. We don't know why we were investing so much money in this." And I'd be like, "Well, I honestly don't know what they do either." So there's like no secrets on my site. It's like, here's the 4-step process that I do. This is what my firm does. If you want to do it, great. And if you don't, then that's fine. There's lots of other options out there. But I only work with visionaries who look at things as investments, not costs, and have an abundance mentality, not scarcity mentality. So in the past 3 months, I had the biggest quarter I've ever had in 3+ years of business, because I only work with people who look at things as investments, not costs. And those folks, they're just pivoting and investing like crazy right now. And even the ones where their businesses have really, really suffered, they're just either starting a new business or they're just, it's entrepreneur life. They're trudging forward. So when you have that mentality, then it eliminates all the noise, and you only focus on the right people that you want to do business with. And so that's why my business has exploded.
Right. That's awesome, man. So what do you think for companies or individuals that are using PR firms? What are a couple of the biggest, I don't want to call it errors, but we could call it errors just for the heck of it. What are some of the mistakes that they make because we've dealt with PR firms. I know what you're talking about.
Right.
What are some of the errors that you see these people making?
Yeah, so this is a rule I live by, and it works pretty well. Is nobody really cares about what you do; they care about who you are. But if they do care about who you are, they will care about what you do. So most of these press releases, which again I don't read, as a journalist, I would just delete them because I'm like, who is this person sending this? I have no idea who they are. I have no relationship with them. But when I did look at them, it's basically like, so-and-so is hired to do this. It's like, no one cares about this. But if you give people a reason to care about the person, whether, what they've overcome in life, something inspirational, something super interesting, then they will care about what they do. But journalists know the difference between PR fluff nonsense and then the real deal type of story. And so, that's why my firm has been successful, is companies are hiring my firm because I know what a good story is. I know what, it's something that's newsworthy that media will actually care about. And then, I have sources and media contacts all over the world, and I'm not going to waste my time sending them, a bad PR release that they're annoyed with hundreds of times a day anyway.
So you work with clients to help them get news articles out or on TV or on radio or a variety of things like that.
That's correct. Yep. And in terms of a business aspect, my firm's hired for two reasons. One is to grow business right away, which is fine, and that's great. And in my opinion, that's the lesser of the two important reasons. And the more important one is to get that long-term and short-term validity and credibility to help you stand out from your competition that's trying to say the same thing or attract the same audience. Because when you're in these high level reputable news outlets, it just gives you validity and credibility, and then those links never go anywhere for years and years. And so people, when you reach out to them and then they see your company was in the New York Times or Forbes or whatever, they're like, oh, this company's legit. So pretty simple.
I mean, that's what I think people need to understand, that a good PR person or firm can do is help legitimize who you are and what your company does.
That's correct.
Yeah. So yeah, Jennifer Moran says, yep, lots of noise out there. That's so true. There is. And there are companies out here going, hey, let's get you on PR web.
Oh God. Please, you know what? I got an email today from someone's like, hey, what do you think about this service? It's like $1,500 a month and we guarantee this. I go, one, if someone guarantees you something, don't work with them. Two, $1,500 a month. I mean, you get what you pay for, man. So it's like, really, you're gonna do this nickel and dime nonsense, or are you gonna do a serious approach? So like, that's what I mean. Like, we kind of started this interview talking about there are two ways of looking at things in society. And so most folks, cost mindset, scarcity mindset, and that's fine. But the people I work with, they are like true visionaries who talk a big game, but they're actually executing it and they're living that dream. Yeah. And because they've made investments in their businesses and brands, it's not a cost to them, it's an investment. And that's how I am with my brand as well. I invest heavily in international entrepreneurial groups or throwing big parties for my clients or whatever, because it's all an investment. And when you look at things as an investment, it always pays off tenfold, the investment that you make. So it's not about ROI, it's about investing in your business and brand and in your brain. So if I called you up and said, hey man, I want to be in the New York Times, or I want to be, well, I don't know about the New York Times, but I mean, good luck. That's what I would say.
Right.
Congratulations. So does everyone else.
Done anything newsworthy? But no, I mean, how do you help people like that? Mm-hmm. That's because we've had that. I've had people reach out to us. We're a marketing firm. Mm-hmm. I've had people reach out and say, hey, I really want, I want to be, put in the New York Times with a backlink to my website on there. And it's like, dude, I'm not God.
Like, yeah. So if someone asked that, they would never be my client. But so I actually don't reach out to anyone really anymore. On a higher level of thinking, what my company really is this giant incubator of geniuses around the world. And we're constantly introducing each other for mutual gain. And the byproduct is I'm constantly getting intros to companies around the world that want to hire my firm. So probably 10 times a day, I make these life-changing intros for folks. So right before this call, I talked to someone in Australia, who was in South Africa in Cape Town. And I just introduced him to 6 people, either who are in South Africa or former South Africans leading businesses in the United States. It has nothing to do with my business at all. Right. I just like to make these intros that are going to help him. And the byproduct is like 4 or 5, 6 times a day, I'm getting amazing intros to companies anywhere that want to hire my firm. That's what business really is about. It's not about, in my opinion, my experience, it's not about cold calling and selling anything. I don't sell anything. It's just, unless someone asks what I do, I don't even bring it up. It's more about relationships and real partnerships as opposed to transactional stuff. Like that doesn't even make sense to me anymore.
That's so true, man. That I need to take that soundbite out of this.
Go for it.
Out of it, because it's true, man. So many people think, man, if I just hammer the phones and close, it's like, dude, no, man. Why don't you find out who people are? Do what you're talking about. I'm oftentimes referred to as the connector, right? Mm-hmm. Like I just want to connect people.
That's what I do all day.
And the byproduct is people reach out and say, hey, man, right. I need your help.
That's right.
It's simple.
And so like that's how 90% of my day is talking to people like you around the world, and then they'll say something totally obscure, and I'll be like, oh, I know someone halfway around the world that thinks exactly the same way, and then they become best friends. So like I'll just give you a perfect example of how my strange brain works, because I don't write anything down. It's all in my head.
Yeah.
So one of my clients is she homeschools her 4 kids. She's Mormon LDS. She lives in the middle of nowhere, Utah. She runs a 7-figure business. And so I was on a call the other day with a former 3-time gold medalist softball player for Team USA. She does public speaking. She's a high-level coach. She's like, oh, yeah, and I homeschool my 4 kids. So I just introduced those two based on the fact that they homeschooled their 4 kids, and I knew, and they were like, they thanked me so much for that a week later. They're like, oh, thanks for this, amazing introduction. That's what business, and more importantly, life is really about. This transactional stuff, it's just a byproduct of all that. And, you talk about cold calling. When I started my business, officially the incorporation date was April 16th, 2017, but I reached out to 5,000 people to get my first 5 clients, just basically begging. So 1 out of 1,000. So if you want to do that, go for it. That's fine. Me personally, I don't like those percentages. And my business, again, has exploded because I just get warm intro after warm intro from people who understand that not only does my firm do a great job, but then I connect people on a global level to people that change their lives.
Dude, people are you seeing these comments, man?
Yeah. People, when they talk to me, they're like, where did you get shot out of a cannon? And so when it comes to, and I say this all the time and people always laugh, but in terms of PR and connecting people on a global level, I'm one of the best people in the world at that. I'm a really good dad. I'm an above average husband, and I'm useless to society besides that. So everybody laughs, but like, I'm not kidding. Like, I know what I'm really good at. I just keep doubling down on it. And it's never worked for me. It's constantly fun. So
do you smile?
Yeah, my wife's trying to get me to do that. But like, I have a very dry sense of humor. That's why the name of my company is really funny, because it's just a joke trolling people. And I just enjoy it. It's really fun, kind of just having a really successful company, only working with the best people in the world, doing what I want to do and what I'm really good at. I see nothing's really changed for me since COVID started, except no in-person meetings. Yeah. So the folks that are struggling and trying to figure things out, I definitely empathize with that. That said, starting a business from nothing is way more stressful it doesn't even, like, it's just entrepreneur life. Like, if you don't want to experience this type of stress or up and down, like, don't do this. Do something else. It's pretty simple.
Work at McDonald's.
Go somewhere else. I've found that, like, what has prepared me in life for this is overwhelming rejection, trying to get a job or whatever. Being a journalist, you're just constantly getting hammered and criticized. So like, that's actually perfect preparation for being an entrepreneur. Because like, if you just can't accept getting told no thousands of times, or just the worst depression and anxiety you've ever imagined, then I just wouldn't do this.
My wife was, I believe, I don't know, I didn't go to college, but I think my wife was.
Who cares?
Yeah,
that's great.
I think my wife studied journalism in college. I think she might have been the college newspaper editor or something. Mm-hmm. I don't know. But I've heard some stories from her. Have you done any like investigative journalism stuff?
A little bit, but I've done like lengthy kind of reports on state of athletics in a program, like in a town. But the way my brain works is perfect for this type of role, because as a journalist, I write 2 to 3 stories a day on deadline, usually about super interesting, quirky people or things that are going on. And that's what I do now. The people I work with, they're all up to just unbelievable things. And they're the most interesting people that have an investment mindset, who have grown something from nothing. And I'm not talking about like a little restaurant or something. I'm talking about like a serious business. Those people are the most interesting, because they have like almost all of them have been incredibly depressed. They've been through some of the worst traumatic experiences that you've ever can imagine. And they just say, whatever, I'm just going to fight my way through this and just be successful. And that's the way I am too. And like, that's just what you do. That's
Dude,
entrepreneur life.
you're cracking me up. You just
This is how I am, man. This is how I am every day.
You just offended like half the audience. All the little restaurant owners just left.
That's okay. I know who my audience is, and so again, the reason why my business has been successful is that I know who my tribe is. A small restaurant is not going to be my client because for the most part, there you have the cost at scarcity mindset. And I mean, I have had restaurants as clients. It's just not like, so for example, the client in Utah that I was talking about, she had 4 failed businesses. They were about to declare bankruptcy. And instead they started this 5th business, and it was, I think last year was like 1.5 million or something. That's a client. So that's someone, and then that's someone I'm going to introduce to who shares similar values and stuff. So like, I'm not trying to offend anyone. It's just like, I know who my audience is. And then what happens is I'll go into a room and talk to 20 people or thousands of people in this case. And then the 80 to 90% will look at me like I'm crazy or an alien. And those people go away very quickly. I only care about the 10, 20, even 5% of people that get it. And then those people either become my clients or partners, or they introduce me to people on a global level. And so those are the only people that I want to work with or partner with or have relationships with.
I love this question that Jennifer just asked.
Who's my ideal client? I get that 4 to 5 times a day. Maybe more, and it has nothing to do with what they do. I have to mesh with their brain. If I don't mesh with somebody's brain, they go away almost immediately. A question that I get that I always laugh at inside, and because I know they will not be a client, is if someone asks, what do you cost or what do you charge within the first 5 or 10 minutes? That's an immediate disqualifier. So the people I work with now, they're like, what does an investment with you look like? Those are the people. And
wow.
I don't even, I might as well just show you, but I do have a book that just came out.
Sure. Let me give you full screen. No, show it. I want you to show that.
Yeah, so this is how I created a global company in less than 3 years. So
wow.
#1 international bestseller, #1 for entrepreneurship in the US. Chris Voss, who wrote Never Split the Difference, he did the foreword. Chris is an amazing guy. His book's one of the best business books in the last 20 years. So it explains my very strange brain that in this case has led to a very successful company.
She rephrased the question.
Every one of my clients has been successful, not only because of PR, because of the intros that I make for them.
Wow. Here's a great question by Joe Ingram. He's a good buddy of mine out in California.
That's true. Oh, see, Joe, I already know that Joe has a weird brain like me, and I'd probably get along with him very well. Like, who would ask that? But I love it. Something with epic in it. Captain Epic. Oh God, Captain Epic.
Captain Epic. I love that.
Was that Eric who just did that question?
No, it's Joe Ingram.
Joe, can you do a Photoshop with me wearing a pirate hat? My brain does not allow me to do that, but if you can do that, and then put like a bubble saying I'm Captain Epic R or something like that, I'm going to send that to my kids and post to my 40,000 followers on social media. People will love that.
That's awesome, dude.
That's good pub for you too, Ken. If you really want to make this a total dumpster fire and like put that hat on me, I'll do it. So I was on this call with all these amazing entrepreneurs on a global level, and so my wife's a pediatrician, and so she was at the office that day, and so I can barely take care of myself, let alone take care of 2 kids, and they were in the background. I mean, this is like a very high level group of people, and they're attacking each other with a real hammer. Nobody got hurt, but I did a screen grab of my kids attacking each other with a hammer to my followers, and people loved it. So if you
real hammer.
Oh yeah, of course. So when I was born, my dad was 61. He was a World War II soldier. He there was no child, like it wasn't like we watched cartoons. And so like one of the first movies I ever watched with him was 48 Hours with Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte. And so I watched that movie with my kids the other day. And let me tell you something, they need to get rid of that movie. Has some very offensive, inappropriate language that should not be said during this day and age. Like in the early 80s, maybe, but not now. And so like my kids and I don't treat them like kids. Like I'm preparing them for entrepreneur life. I think the conversation we're having now is the difference between integrator and and visionary. And the kids are like, all of mommy's friends are integrators and all of your friends are visionaries. So it's kind of a funny conversation. But yeah, we don't talk about cartoons and stuff.
All right, well, pretend I'm 7. What's the difference between an integrator and a visionary?
So visionary is someone who looks at things as investments, not costs. An integrator is someone that likes to work with their hands and be part of a giant cohesive team, be an employee type person, which is fine. The world needs more of those than visionaries for sure. Visionary, who's someone who can take a concept and then actually turn it into something, into something super successful, or hire a team that can integrate that for them. So most entrepreneurs, I do a lot of brain self-awareness stuff. Most entrepreneurs have very high quick start, meaning they can go boom, 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 boom. So I have that, obviously, as you can tell from this conversation. But I'm the rare entrepreneur who actually has high follow-through as well. So I can follow through on my own quick start. And then most entrepreneurs, they have no follow-through, so they're all over the place. And that's why they hire a bunch of people to help them implement or integrate their vroom, 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 vroom type stuff. So in 3 years of having my own business, I've met one other person who has a similar Kolbe score. That's KOLBE, Series A test, which does Fact Finder, which I'm high in. I'm high in quick start. I'm high in follow through, and I'd be a 0 in implementing, working with my hands or building something if that score existed. So it's a very rare brain, certainly in the entrepreneurial world, but probably in general too.
Wow. That's Jennifer says she had the same experience.
That's right. That's exactly right. Oh my God, that's hilarious. That's right. That's another one. I'm probably not based on. Okay, so my dad, the one movie where he put it on, I'll remember, we got it from West Coast Video, if anyone remembers that. And so he got that. It was Eddie Murphy Raw, and he put that in. That was his live. Yeah, so I was like 7 when that came out.
Oh my God! He let you watch that at 7?
No, he turned it off. It off. He's like, it was like, I can't say what the first couple words were, but I do vividly remember. And I'm like, and I go, why'd you turn that off? Because you cannot. So there is a certain line that I don't cross with my kids, but I will say they are fearless. They have this really interesting mix of brain because they have my wackadoo entrepreneur, like success driven, like very driven brain, and then my wife. She's like super kind. She has a photographic memory. She's brilliant, like can remember anything, scientific, and she's like very warm and loving. And so I like look at my kids. It's really interesting to see how they're like evolving in their brains. So like they're my kids, but then I also I kind of almost look at them scientifically too. It's very interesting to watch. Thanks, Joe.
Joe loves you.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. That's why I don't like, if people don't like me, that's fine. I only work with people that.
Dude, Joe's one of my best friends, and you guys are like.
Joe, hit me up, man. We'll talk after this.
You guys are like twins.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So imagine my company is 40,000 Joes. That's what it is, and it keeps growing every day. And so that's what I mean. There's no panic. There's no scarcity. There's no cost, because those people like Joe. I'm guessing he's very successful. I'm guessing he knows a lot of successful people that are very happy because they're living their dreams like I am and doing what they want to do, which I do, and working with the people that I want to, which I do. So it's when you find people like that, they introduce you to more people like that, and then it just grows and grows and grows and grows and grows. Joe's a good guy. Yeah, Joe. Very sarcastic. He's smiling though, and I don't. So
yeah. So wow, unbelievable. So I'm looking for. Well, Joe also said 7 is giving me a lot of credit when I said pretend I'm 7. That's not very nice, Joe.
So he's trolling you. Nice.
Yeah, he's the king of trolling.
Perfect.
There's a couple of people have asked, where is it on Amazon?
Yeah, it's on Amazon. It's just started in Barnes & Noble. It's in Books A Million. It's going to be in Target, Walmart, all those places soon. But yeah, the Audible's almost done. So now on Amazon, you can get the Kindle, tablet, whatever, and then you can get the hardcover, softcover. So, wow. Yeah, and it's like you can read it in a day. And so here's what's interesting about the book is that it's intended, it was intended in my head for like entrepreneurs or hopeful entrepreneurs. And I've had a lot of really good feedback from those folks. The interesting part of this life is you find out really things that you didn't expect. And so what has happened is that a lot of business owners have bought it for their employees because they want their employees to think in a global network kind of visionary perspective. They want them to still be integrators, but then they have these tools in their head. Oh, there's the book again. I like how I can see the chat. Here.
Yeah. You know, here, pull it back so they can see the whole thing there. Chris Voss wrote the foreword to it.
Yep.
That's awesome, man.
Yes, yeah, he's a great. And so Chris Voss's son, Brandon, who's an amazing guy, he's in my strategic coach group. If anyone hasn't heard of strategic coach, I highly recommend it. It meets in Chicago, LA, London, and Toronto. So I go to the Chicago groups because it's like 20 minutes from my house. I'm the only one from Illinois in my group. Everybody else flies in, and it's all CEOs, founders. Then the other group I'm in is EO, which is Entrepreneurs Organization.
Yeah,
that's that's like the person I just talked to in South Africa. He's in EO, and most of my conversations are with people outside the U.S. now because I just enjoy talking to people on a global level. Here's my family. So there's my surprisingly normal wife, and there are my awesome children, Jake and Chase. So everybody meet
surprisingly.
Yes, everyone meets my wife, and they're like, "Wow, your wife's really amazing." Like they're flabbergasted that she married, and it doesn't make any sense because she's super successful, very kind, love it. I mean, like she's not an entrepreneur. Thank God I did not marry someone like me. But she's a great mom. It's like no problem. She's the nicest person ever, and I'm just like, woo. It's a good match. It's a good match. Maybe she doesn't think that, but
do you know who John Toda is?
No.
He's the CEO of a company in New York, but he's one of the I forget what his title is. He's one of the head guys at EO in the Northeast. But he's also I have another friend that was in, what's the coach? It's strategic, right?
Strategic coach, yeah. Dan Sullivan's.
Yeah, I know somebody. That's a pretty pricey exclusive coaching group.
Yeah, well, you get what you pay for. So I think it's around $12,500 a year. I would easily invest $20,000 to $30,000 a year in it.
I thought it was a lot more than that.
The 10x program is
okay.
That's $25,000 a year, I believe.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's for companies. I can't remember the threshold. The groups I'm in, it's for $250,000 to $1 million in revenue. And when you get to the $250,000, I mean, I don't care about revenue. That's where I really differentiate myself from most entrepreneurs because my company is essentially all right. Joe's right. Yeah, I don't look at things. That's what I mean. It's all an investment.
I know.
In EO Accelerator, which I'm in, that's companies $250,000 to $1 million. It's only $5,000 in Chicago. Again, I'd easily invest $20,000 to $30,000 because the people in it are so amazing. And your brain evolves. So,
you know, I think that people don't real. I was having this conversation yesterday. The people that you're hanging out with, it's the most important part of your life. And most people put no thought into it. Zero.
Makes no sense. It's the opposite of how life. Again, based on my experiences, I don't use the word should because I've learned not to use the word should. But based on my experiences, it has nothing to do with transactional. It's all real relationships. And so, the number one reason why my company's been successful is because I do what I like to do, and I do what I'm good at. And I learned that, which is called unique ability, in Strategic Coach. So I don't do anything else. And then your network equals your net worth. So that's why I'm in all these amazing groups, because when you're around all these people, you just rise with them.
Yep.
And your brain rises with them. And byproduct is your company's profit rises as well. And like, I was a journalist not making a lot of money. I had no idea what a W-9 was or an LLC was before I started this. Like, literally, I had no idea. I had learned nothing in college. I mean, half of my clients didn't go to college either, Ken, like, because it in terms of running a business, it's not necessarily the most important thing. Um, and what college has done for me is created a really good network that has been very important. I think that, like, for people like my wife, who's a pediatrician, obviously college is important, but running a business, not necessarily the most important thing. It's really about having guts and then willing to invest in yourself and investing in your brain and the evolution of your brain.
Dude, I'll bet if you like fall off your skateboard and get a boo-boo, your wife is perfect to be married to.
Yeah, that's interesting that was your response to what I just said. But you know what? My kids fall off their bike or whatever. The older one did. He had so my wife, sutured his skin or glued it. And I'm like, if I had done that, the kid his eyes would have been shut with super glue and or dead. But I don't know how to do anything other than this and connect people. So
Dude,
I just keep doubling down on it.
I didn't know how to take you at first, but I really do like your I like your disposition.
Well, this is how I am. So you either like it or you don't. I mean, if you don't like it, I don't care. I mean, I don't like. It's just so now here is how I have evolved that, though. So like most of my wife's friends, they're not visionaries, which is fine. So I'll go out to dinner and I'll literally pretend I'm someone else. Like I'll actually act. And so it actually worked out really well. This is pre-COVID, obviously. And so then I made a huge mistake. I told my wife, I go, how did I do acting? Like, I was acting through that whole thing, and I shouldn't have said that because it ruined the whole vibe. It ruined the whole vibe of the night because she thought I was really, doing a good job interacting. And
oh, geez.
Yeah, so this is how I am. So this is talking to people like you. I get really excited because most people don't think like you. If you get me talking at a party where there's like no one who thinks like me, I'll just sit in a corner or pretend I'm someone else. So is that how Joe is?
I love you. I do. I love your attitude. What do you think? I always like to dig into the psychology of things. I don't know why. Right. But like, what do you think gives you? Because it's a. Some people may say that you come off as arrogant. I don't think
absolutely. It's totally. So here's the difference. This is one of the chapters in my book. I'm extremely confident in what I'm really good at. I'm not. Right. I hate cocky people because they think they're good at everything. I'm not. I'm good at two things, and being a dad. So I'm really good at three things: above average to average husband, and then useless besides that. I'm terrible at everything else. So that's not arrogant at all. That's the opposite of arrogance. So I mean, no, I'm terrible at most. I installed a light bulb today, and that took me 3 weeks to do that. I was just staring at it. I'm like, okay, so I eventually did it today because we had a babysitter come over. But you ask me to do anything that's outside of my comfort zone, two things are going to happen. One, I'm going to get very angry and annoyed right away, or two, I just won't do it. So that's not arrogance. That's like just knowing who you are and what you're good at. I
love that, man. Where do you think that confidence comes from?
Yes. One, I'm in the right networking groups with the right people. All of these people are successful for the most part because they have the right type of brain.
Yeah.
Someone in my EO chapter in Chicago, she lost 95% of her business in 2 days. And there was no panic. She just started a new business.
Right.
So I introduced her to 40 different people that might be good clients for her. That has nothing to do with my PR firm.
Wow.
Yeah. So so when you're around people like that, then that's what happens. The other thing is if you can build a successful business out of nothing, like literally nothing, which I was able to do, I'm convinced you can pretty much do anything. I mean, I don't think there's, in my opinion, based on my experience, I don't think there's anything harder than starting a business from nothing. And when you overcome depression, high levels of anxiety roller coaster, and you get used, not comfortable, because this is never a comfortable life. For the most part. But when you get used to that and you see the success, and you realize the conversations you have 2 years ago are the ones now where it's leading to great things. That it's not I'm having a conversation with you right now and you're going to give me $50,000 that day. I mean, that does happen sometimes, but it's pretty rare. So when you realize how this life works and you hang out with the right people, and I constantly work on my brain, constantly, every single day I'm learning something, then this is the byproduct of all of that. So
what are some of the things that you do to work on your brain, and do you ever work on your humanity?
Yes. Yes. So I only work with people that are helping people at least on a local level.
Yeah.
Most of them are on a global, at least national level, but a lot of them are on a global level. Definitely don't work with shysters. My BS meter is at very peak high, and my rates and directness and attitude weed out most of that right away.
Wow, I love that, man.
People who become my clients, they think very similar to me, just in terms of a global perspective, a helping people. I mean, I don't know. Like, I literally spend most of my day just making intros to people that have nothing to do with my business, and then it really helps them. So. I mean, I help more people than 99.9% of the people on the planet. There's no doubt. But I will say it's the right people who understand what to do with those intros, and they understand that it helps them to make great intros for me as well. So certainly not as many as I do for them. I mean, maybe for every one intro I get, I probably make 5 or 6. But still, again, the byproduct is that the results are there. So,
do you like dealing with whiners?
no, I don't deal with any whiners. Why would
that was a rhetorical.
Yeah. No. So again, people that ask, what do you cost or what do you charge? Those are the people, again, based on my experience, those are the ones that whine because they're not happy with their own lives. They're looking at everything as a cost or a financial thing. People I work with are the total opposite of that. They've invested heavily in their businesses and brands. They've been successful because of those investments. They're usually the happiest people ever because they give like I give. They genuinely care about people, which is I genuinely care about people. Again, the right types of people.
Yeah.
And they see their family when they want to. They're enjoying their life. They're doing their superpowers and embracing those superpowers. So that's what I do. And most people, the cool thing about being an entrepreneur is you get to see who you like. You get to see who you really don't like. You get to see what you like to do. You get to see what you don't like to do. You're learning something every day. Your brain evolves every single day. So the way I look at it is this is just the beginning. It's going to be so much fun. What happens even 2 hours from now or 2 days from now. And it's just really fun when you get to do what you like to do and what you're good at and hang out with all these amazing people. And for me, I'm usually the dumbest person in the room, to talk about your arrogant comment from someone else earlier. Like I like being the dumbest person in the room, so I can be like a sponge and just learn from people.
Dude, I think that, and I I wasn't inferring that you're arrogant. I think
No, I know people. My wife says that to me all the time. She's like, you're rubbing people the wrong way. I'm like, well, that's on them, not me. Like, this is who I am. So I lived in the forest. You ever see the rest of my backyard? That's not a forest. Kids play there. So the person who lived before the people who lived here, they did not live there. They worked at the Chicago Botanical Garden. So they brought in all of these nice flowers and stuff. Now look at this. Hold on. I don't know if you can see it. So I'm like 100-year-old living in a 43-year-old's body.
Wow.
You see the bird feeders there? Can you see those?
Yeah. Wow.
10 bird feeders in my backyard. I'm like an old man, and I just like looking at birds, and that's my activity, I guess, besides running and stuff. But
dude, that's freaking awesome, man. So let me ask you a question. I ask everybody this, and I'm going to make this the last question because I know you have another commitment. And
thank you.
So what do you think? And for just a moment, put aside the fact that you only deal with ballers, because you do. What do you think the number one thing is that holds people back in business and in life from making the super high level achievements that we're talking about?
The number one thing. So I can speak from experience and from what I've seen from other businesses and being in wrong networking groups and then being in the right ones. And I have slightly said this already, but when you are at a lower level of thinking, a lower level of networking group, a lower level of business, it's thinking of things as costs. When you can, and that's the thing that most people, especially entrepreneurs, have said that's the top thing they've gotten out of reading my book in terms of the chapter, said only work with people who look at things as investments, not costs. Most people have this mindset that everything is a cost. And everything is an investment. Everything. Every single thing, in my opinion, based on my experience, everything you do from the time of this interview, from the time of talking to someone, for the time of doing your work, for the time of spending your with your kids, it's an investment either in time, money, productivity, life. And when you get to that, bridge that gap between cost and investment, and that can happen. It happened to me, and I've seen it happen to some of my clients and some of the other businesses. Then it's really a very cool thing that happens. It's like it's almost an immediate positive, life-changing aspect. You see people start to glow, and even though I don't smile that much, I'm definitely super happy and very pleased with how my life has been and how it's going moving forward. So I really think that's the thing that's holding people back, is that they're surrounded by people who they're basically, especially smaller business owners, they're surrounded by other people that are enabling them to think in this cost mindset, as opposed to hang out with the people that I hang out with that would be like, we're not dealing with this BS. You're like, what are you talking about?
Right.
It's an investment. So finding the right people and finding the right mindset, super important.
How do you weed the people? I mean, I'm sure people have gotten into your space that were definitely. Look, Joe says, and now you can add me as another life bonus.
Thanks, Joe. Joe,
Well,
connect with me on LinkedIn, man.
How do you weed, like, especially family, right?
Don't get me started with it. That's a different animal. So, so I grew up in the North Shore of Chicago, very entitled, penny pinching, the worst cost scarcity mindset ever. Everybody here has a silver spoon. And I didn't think like that. So I was going to these networking groups, and I'm like felt horrible, because I'm like, nobody understands what I'm thinking. And again, all these people I ever thought of was cost. What do you cost? What do you charge? It was all about transactional. It wasn't about real relationships. And so again, when somebody asks me, what do you cost? What do you charge with certainly during our first conversation, I know they'll never be a good client. And then they'll also likely be in the wrong network of people where they're hanging out with those cost scarcity mindset people. And those people are for multiple reasons, they're toxic. So to your point, every now and then one kind of weasels their way in. But again, that failure and allowing someone like that into my life, at least even for a minute, it's a learning experience from making sure it doesn't happen again.
Love that, man. I can't wait to read your book, dude.
Oh, thanks, man.
I mean that, Joe. It sounds like a few people have already picked it up. So
great.
That's awesome, dude. Thank you. I want to give you time to get ready for your next meeting. So I thank you. I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate everybody that's been on here. And the best place to follow you is where?
Sure. So I have 40,000 followers on social media, including more than 21,000 on LinkedIn. So Justin Breen on LinkedIn. I use LinkedIn as a commercial for other people, and it's led to endless jobs or leads or amazing relationships. So that, and then my website is brepicllc.com. So you can see BREPIC LLC.com, brepicllc.com.
Love it, dude. Justin, you're a rock star, man.
Where's my pirate hat, man? I'm waiting.
Come on, Joe.
So I'll put my Marquette hat on. Even though I didn't go to Marquette, I wear this just to troll a family that the entire family went to Marquette. And so I just wear that hat just to bother them. And they don't even know I'm wearing it. But I'm going to tell them that I did that on this podcast just to bother them. So Joe and I don't know. He might be the king of trolls. I'll be the brainstem, that's fine.
Joe is a great troll. He's
He's a great. I love it.
Joe. There's one of
great
Joe's
troll.
friends, Dr. Bill. Why do you continuously let Joe?
Hey, see, I'm smiling. You got me to smile. Wow, that's a miracle.
Wow,
Oh my
I think
God.
you and Joe might be two peas.
I say that when I introduce people now. You guys are two peas in a pod. That's how you make introductions a lot.
I love it, man. Bill says he lives under a bridge.
Oh, Joe does? This is some feisty group, man.
Joe's a rock star, man. So listen, man, I appreciate you coming on. Thank you to everybody who's been on and shared. Go pick up Epic Business by Justin Breen. Pick it up today. Pick up 5 copies and give them away. Give them away.
Change people's lives, man.
That's right.
It's all about.
That's right, dude. Thank you, Justin. I appreciate it. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to end this now. Thank you to everybody that watched. If you shared it out, you're awesome. If you didn't share it out, unfriend me now. Just kidding. Just kidding. All right. Thanks, Justin.